So today I'm super excited. I've got my parents coming for lunch, and so I'm honouring my Irish heritage. So my mum's Irish. She only moved over here to England when she married my dad, and that's actually 51 years ago now. So I thought today, as they're coming for lunch, I'd cook some of the meals that my mother grew up on. So there's a little bit of pressure and I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm going to start off by making traditional Irish stew. So at the moment, what I've got cooking here is just around 200 grams of bacon. So what I got was a full slab of bacon, which I just cut into large chunks, and I'm just going to fry that off first of all. What I would say about this recipe is it's a one-pot dish really. So if you can cook it in something that you can cook on the hob and then transfer to the oven, it saves on the washing up and it's really quick and simple to do. So whilst my bacon's cooking down, I'll tell you a few of the other wonderful Irish treats we've got in store today. So I thought I would do a lovely soda bread, which is very traditional in Ireland, and it's what I grew up on, going there every single year. I'm going to cook something called colcannon, which is a potato dish, and the version my mother had of it would have been slightly different to what I'm cooking today. I think hers would be done with spring onions, which is not what we're doing. And then I'm going to cook a sweet treat, which would be a dessert that my mother grew up on as well, called 15s. So there's a lot to get through and not much time because they'll be here at lunchtime. So let's get started. So we'll just cook our bacon until slightly crispy, not too much because it's going to go in the oven for quite a while. So it takes a long time to cook this dish. We cook it on a slow heat. So the bacon doesn't need to be overdone. So our bacon is cooked through. So I'm just going to remove it from the pan and set aside until we need it a little bit later. So now to the pan, I'm going to add around 900 grams of diced lamb. So this is very traditional in Irish stew. So I'm just going to put it straight into the same pan. And then all I want to do is brown the lamb all over. That's what we want to do. I always look at the browning of it as the colour being the flavour. So we're adding flavour to our stew by browning this lamb. Just going to cook that just until it's browned. And you've noticed that I actually haven't added any oil to this. So first because I'm cooking it in the fat from the bacon, and also I had nice marbling on this lamb, so it releases its own fats and juices, so there's no need to add any other oils or fats to the pan to cook this in. They'll brown perfectly nicely in their own fats. So this literally just takes a couple of minutes. We're just getting a nice colour on all the pieces of the lamb. So our diced lamb is browned. Let's remove it from the pan. Just going to pop it in next to the bacon because they're both going to be added back in together. Might seem like a lot of lamb this, but my dad has a big appetite. I mean, thinking about quantities, my mother's actually one of 10 children. So when making this dish, I just wonder how much her mother had to cook for the whole family. So with the pan over a high heat, I'm now going to add in 5 carrots that I've just peeled and chopped, straight into the pan. And then I've just peeled and sliced some onions, and they're going to go straight in as well. I'm just going to give these a stir around on a very high heat, and I'm going to add into this as well 3 bay leaves, and I'm going to add in a couple of sprigs of thyme, just whole, the whole thyme straight in. We can pull them out later if we want to, but they just add such depth of flavour to this dish. So I'm just going to cook these down over a really high heat. It'll probably take around 5 minutes or so. I'm just going to add in as well a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of extra seasoning. Okay, so our carrots and onions have been cooking away now for around 5 minutes. They're softening, the onions are starting to turn a colour, slightly golden, and our kitchen smells delicious of all that, those bay leaves and that thyme. So I know it's ready for the next stage of this dish. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to add back into the pan our cooked bacon and our diced lamb. So this is all just going to go straight back in. Meat juices in as well, that's all added flavour. Bearing in mind I'm competing against my grandmother, who was probably making this dish her whole life. So that's all the meat has gone back in. I'm just going to give it a very quick stir. And then at this point I'm going to add in, it's 100 grams of pearl barley. So it's just a lovely little pearl barleys, they're gorgeous and they'll fluff up when they've cooked down. And then to this, I'm now going to add around 850 ml of lamb stock. I'm going to pour this straight into the pan. I'm just going to give everything a stir around, and then what I want to do is I'm going to bring this to the boil before we pop it into the oven. So our lamb stew, our Irish stew, is just coming to the boil now. It's just bubbling a little bit on the top. So what I'm going to do at this point is, I've just taken 5 regular white potatoes, peeled them and chopped them. I'm going to cut them up a little bit smaller still. So they're probably in about quarters now, and I'm just going to nestle them into the top of the stew. Just on top. Like this. I don't think there's many dishes in Ireland that don't contain potatoes. It's probably why my father married an Irish lady, if I'm being honest. Okay, and I think we're done. All that's left to do is pop the lid on. And then we're going to put it into an oven, not a particularly high heat, depending on the strength of your oven. I'm going to put mine between 160 and 180 degrees, and it's going to go in for about an hour and a half. And then hopefully by the time my parents arrive, it'll be done.